lot of stories about people who've been very successful in taming raw land. And you get to see how they have accomplished incredible things. But a lot of times you don't see the struggles they go through. And I wanted to share with you some of the things that have gone wrong for me, especially in the first year after buying this property. I think this picture is from one of my early videos when I was saying that the equipment arrives here today. What you don't see is that I had to borrow a neighbor's trailer to go get this stuff from my dump truck, pictured here, because it didn't make it up the hill once it was delivered with my tractor. It literally died on the side of the road trying to climb the hill. It seemed to be running low on power, and as I gave it a little more gas, it blew a head gasket, and there was no way I was going to have the money to fix it. Here sits my mini excavator, which made it all the way up the hill to the property, but it did so smoking, because I think it was leaking hydraulic fluid, and it was smoking all the way until it got up there, and then when I shut it off, that's where it stopped. It has not moved again since under its own power. I was able to move it with my excavator. I was able to move it out of the way so that I can continue to work on this part of the property. And I'm hoping that I'm right, that it's just a hydraulic leak, and as soon as I put more fluid in it, that some safety mechanism which is preventing it from running will allow it to start and move again. But for now, it's still down. Then there's my 2004 F350 6.0, which has been a love-hate relationship from the word go. But driving this truck up into the mountains at 3,000 feet, up all those hills, has really challenged the systems in it, especially the cooling system. One particular instance, one of my neighbor's children found himself stuck on the side of the road. He had gone off and he needed some help getting pulled out. So, having a dually, I figured why not? I can give him a hand. I hooked up to the back and started pulling him out. This was the day before I was supposed to leave to go back to Florida. And wouldn't you know it, the morning I'm getting ready to leave and go back to Florida, I'm driving down this road and my truck starts to overheat. With smoke coming up from under the hood, I pop the hood and this is what I see. It looked like green hot pudding was coming out of my coolant reservoir. And that could mean a couple of things. I was really hoping it wasn't a blown head gasket. Now bear in mind, this is in the early days. When I was practically in the middle of the wilderness, I had nothing. No electricity, no water. I only had some of my tools with me. I was really screwed. Lucky for me, I had some amazing neighbors who let me not only bring my truck to their lot where I could work on it, they provided me a generator and a shelter and some water and some light and allowed me to work on my truck in their front yard. Not only that, they drove me to the auto parts store to help me get a new oil cooler and lent me some tools so that I could take my truck apart in the middle of the night, swap out the oil cooler, and try to put it back together. But I ran out of time. I had to be at work. So then they drove me to the airport so that I could fly home. On my next trip back to Tennessee, I had to fix broken wires from the harness. I had to pull the starter so that I could drain the block and flush it out to get all the green pudding out of it. So this is what came out overnight. Just letting the drain plugs ooze out. There's another puddle underneath the truck. Right there. That I'll have to clean up. But that is what came out after the rinse. And they say to run it until it's clear. You know, oil's not going to mix with water. It's not going to be clear, but I think most of the engine debris has now come out. Then, just as I get my truck running again, my tractor quits. And since I'm sitting up on the side of a mountain right now, and I've got a sawmill I've got to build a shack for, it has to sit and wait until I have time to deal with it, because I've got time-sensitive issues on other things. Check out my link above from sawing my first log on the ground to building my first building if you want to watch the sawmill shack build. I'll also put a link in the description in case this doesn't work, putting a link up in the picture frame here. But here's what it looked like when I was trying to fix the tractor, and the process I had to go through to get it running again, and what the problem actually turned out to be. So here I am in the mountains
my sawmill. And here's my Kubota tractor, 2015 M7060. Presented with a no start. First thing I did, changed the battery. Charged it, changed the battery, nothing. Cleaned the connectors, still nothing. I was at one time getting flashers, but then absolutely nothing. Key on, not a thing. So I changed all the fuses. And by the way, if you don't know this, with these fuses, they're bolted in. You gotta flip the cover here and here. Take the bolts out or those fuses won't come out. So now I'm on to the relays. And I did check the first relay right there. That one, usually mounted on this pin here. That one checked out good. So I started with the next ones. And this one looks really corroded. Like, I'm surprised it was making connection. I think I made that scrape when I actually pulled it out. So I'm going to clean it up, I'm going to test it, and I'm going to try it and see if that helps. Alright, stay tuned. There is nothing like being on the side of a mountain in the middle of the wilderness and having your tractor not start. My tractor only has 500 hours on it. 6 months ago, it presented with a no start. Dashboard was flickering, and every once in a while I could get it to start, but it was having a problem. I didn't know what it was. I checked the battery, checked all the relays. Turns out I had a mouse living underneath the floorboard. There's a metal plate. That plate right there goes in right here. He chewed the cords that were right here. This is my repair job. I've got screw caps on here and they're electrical tape back together. This is the plug that I took out. If you have a no start, you have no power with your ignition, no dash lights, or something along that line, and you've checked the battery, you've checked the fuses, you've checked the relays, and you still got nothing, check that out. I think a mouse peed on it and rotted them out. I'll post a picture of what it looked like. Good luck.
And then the motor on my Harbor Freight Plate Compactor took a crap on me and had to be replaced. And if you want to see a video on changing that, I'll post a link in the description, and there should be something up here that you can click on that'll take you there as well. I guess my point being here, and the point of this video is just to say there are a lot of great things that happen. A lot of us out here that are taming raw land, that are building our homestead, we're doing it, and a lot of times you see our successes because that's what we're most proud of. You take pictures when you're happy and proud of what you have accomplished. A lot of times I don't have pictures of my failures because in the moment I'm stressed out and I'm freaking out and I'm wondering about all the money I'm spending and all the time I'm losing working with it and dealing with it. This first year on the land, while I never said to myself, what did I get myself into? A lot of people looked at me and said, do you often wonder what you got yourself into? And talking to my wife, she has often asked me, are you sure you really want to do this? And of course I tell her, yes, of course, this is my dream. This is what I want to do. And I think that having it be part of your dream for what you want to do makes it easy to do it. Makes it, well, maybe not easy, but definitely you can see that you're going to put the energy in to get through to that next step, to get to where you want to go. And I don't know if it was watching my father get up and go to work every single day with broken fingers and swollen knees, and the struggles he went through living in Western New York, driving a crappy car in the wintertime, burning up in the factory in the summer and freezing his ass off in the winter, that helped me develop a work ethic. I think maybe. I don't know if it was the time I spent in the Army that helped me find my ability to be all that I could be. Maybe it's having the loving support of my wife. I think that when you take on a project like transforming raw land, you should know that it is not for the weak at heart. There is a certain level of stress you're going to have in dealing with the things that happen. And if you're going up into the mountains, I'm going to say this again, what works on flat ground does not work in the mountains. The stress that you put on your equipment is entirely amplified. In some ways, that's really good because when you finally work out the bugs in your equipment, it becomes reliable. I actually found that out with my truck because the little video you saw, or the little pictures you saw of me in that oil cooler, that wasn't the last time I had to do that. And I learned a valuable lesson there as well. You replace parts in your Ford truck with factory name brand parts. You don't go cheap. I put a Dorman oil cooler in my truck and had to replace it not 6 months later. So, with that in mind, I just want you to know, yes, I'm loving doing this on this land, but it's been a challenge. This first year was brutal. And I learned something, or was reminded of something that I discovered when I bought my Mayaca property. The cost of the land, that is not the biggest expense. You might think it is because it represents such a big amount. But transforming that land and then building a house on that land cost much more than the land, usually. So, you find yourself asking, is it worth it? Look around. Is this where you're happy? Is this what makes you happy? For me, the answer is clear.
This is just one of the ridge tops. I can tell there's going to be views out there as soon as I thin these trees. I love the sunshine coming down. Can you imagine owning our own forest? 150 acres. Pristine forest.